Welcome back to Dash Explorer. I'm Sarah, and if you are joining us from part 1 of this video about editing in DaVinci Resolve, you know that this is part of a whole series of videos where I'm trying to show you how to document your family trips, all the way from why it's important to take videos, how to take videos, all the way through the editing process. So in part 1 of this video, I was showing you how to use a completely free software called DaVinci Resolve. It is a very powerful software that can do all kinds of things for you when it comes to editing your clips. And in last week's video, I walked you through the editing process where I edited videos from a family picnic in the park and showed you all the tools for how to cut down videos, how to add titles, all the shortcuts, all the things. And in the process of making this whole editing video, I talked for a really long time. So in today's video, this part 2, I'm gonna be showing you how to color grade your videos, how to add in transitions, and how to finalize and export that video so that you can share it with your friends and your family and show them all the fun adventures that you go on with your family. So with that, we are gonna jump back into the editing process and pick up with color grading in DaVinci Resolve. So now I'm gonna show you how to edit the color of all of these videos because they are not the color they are supposed to be. So we are going to go over, like I told you earlier, to this color wheel tab, and it's going to show you all the clips that you have. So I'm going to click on the first clip and I'm going to scroll all the way down to the last clip and hit shift, and that will select all of them. However, I know that there are 2 clips that I do not need to add color correction to. One of them is this clip of the girls that I know is already color corrected. So if I hit the command button, it will uncheck that one. And then I'll scroll over, and then there's also this title slide that doesn't need to be color corrected, so I'll hit command again and click that one, and that one is unselected. So now all these red clips are selected, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on them, go up to add into a new group, and I always like to title it, and I just call it iPhone. That way I know all of these clips were taken on my iPhone and I'm going to edit them together. So I'm going to pick one that really shows all the colors and how I want to edit it, like this one, and go up to here where it says clip and hit group post clip. And then you're gonna see there's these things called nodes. I'm still a very, very basic user of nodes, so I don't know how to use them to their fullest potential, but I know that if I do a couple of tricks here, we can change the color on these. So you're gonna click on the node that's already there, and under the library tab, click on color space transform, and just drag that on top of the clip, and it will bring all of this stuff up. All you need to know is that you click on this first one, and if you start typing in rec, R-E-C, and you click in Rec 2020, that will change it a little bit. And then output, you want it to be Rec 2100, and it will still look kind of funky, Rec 2100 HLG. And then everything I've read online says click on Apple Log, but that makes my videos look really dark, and I don't think that that works for me. So I just kind of scroll through. You can try clicking on a bunch of these. I tried Gamma 2.4, and that one seemed okay. So that's the one I'm sticking with for now. You can feel free to play around with it and find what looks best for you. But this is still not where we want it to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click or 2-finger click on the one node that I have and go down to add node and just click add serial, and that will connect one right next to it. And I'm going to go down to these color wheels down here. First of all, I want it to be just a little bit darker. So I'm going to take this contrast and I'm going to turn it up just a little bit. Less is more. Start with less, always add more on later. I also am going to bump the saturation up a little bit because we want it to have a little bit more color to it. And same thing with the color boost. Oop, too much, but see, if you see it goes too much, then it's like too crazy. So I'm just going to do it up to like 10. And feel free to like click on these wheels, drag them back and forth, undo what you do, and just tweak it so that it looks the way that you want it to look. And sometimes you got to go back and forth between a couple clips because it's hard to tell if something doesn't look right. If it looks a little yellow, I'll take the temperature down a little bit so it's a little bit cooler. Again, I am not a color grading specialist by any means, but just kind of play around with it until you feel like it looks right. Yeah, this is looking a lot better. And then they're all color graded. So now you can go back to your edit tab. And then the last thing I'm going to do, since I did mute a lot of my clips, is I'm going to add in some music. So I'm going to go into File, Import, Media. And I have this song already saved, and I'm a subscriber to Epidemic Sounds, so I am able to use copyright-free music because I pay money for it. I use it for all of my YouTube accounts, and that is where I get my music from. If you have songs that you want to use, you can feel free to import those, but I'm going to use one that I have a license for, and I'm going to go ahead and drag that down. I like to give it at least a row of space between the other ones just because I already have a clip on this line. Not that I'm using the audio from it, but I usually put it a little bit down. And also I usually like to turn it down just a little bit because it's kind of background music. It doesn't need to be super loud. So turn it down to like -8 and then let's go through and preview it and listen to it. Oh, and you can hit Command F and that will bring it into full screen for you to preview. All right, it is Tuesday. And now you see I got to the point where I'm talking and this does not auto mute over narration. So the one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the beginning of this clip and I'm going to click on the audio. So the music down the bottom is selected and I'm going to click over here where it says volume. There are these little dots. I'm going to click on a dot. I'm going to let it play for just a second. All right. And then I'm going to click another dot. And then I'm going to go to the end of the clip. Click a dot, let it play, click another dot. So you'll see I have 4 dots down here on the timeline, down on top of my clip. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then if you hover in the middle of them, you can bring this middle part down. I usually like to do like -20 to 28, usually tends to be better when you're having audio. All right, it is Tuesday afternoon. And that background music will drop down. I don't think I went down enough. I'm gonna go down to 25. The weather is beautiful for August, so we decided that actually, I'm gonna take it down to 28 and I'm gonna turn my volume up just a little bit. We would pack the girls up and go to a restaurant that's nearby and have a picnic dinner at the park. And then that music will fade back in. So now I've got my music, but as you can see, if I zoom my timeline out, this song goes way past the end of my video. So I'm going to, like I've done with all my other clips, trim it down and zoom it back in. So now it's right here at the end of my clip. But one thing I like to do is let it go just an extra second over. And like I did with my video fading to black, if you also select this little bar here, you can drag it in and that will fade that music out at the end. So now it fades all the way out. And so now that my video is done, I am going to go back to the beginning, preview the whole thing all the way through. Once I've made any changes or gotten to the point where I feel like it is complete and I'm ready to be done, I'm gonna go into the export page. Okay, so I have previewed my video, I've watched it all the way through, and I'm gonna make one last change and show you guys how to do one more thing before I finalize and publish this video. And that is to add transitions. So it automatically puts them in when you do them in iMovie, but in a software like this, you're gonna need to do them yourself. So go back up to this Effects tab, and if you look down on the side, you're gonna go into Video Transitions. So there are all different kinds of crazy things that you can do, but my personal favorite is the cross dissolve where it will blur one into the next. So there seems to be no quick way where you can just add a transition onto your entire slideshow. So I'm going to go through and add them in one at a time by clicking and dragging over top. But if you see, I go on this one and it won't let me drag it over top of the other one, and that's because I haven't cut anything off of that side. So I'm going to hit that T button and slide this clip over just a little bit. So the problem with adding this cross dissolve is that you have to have a little bit of the clip cut from the front and the back. So unless you have trimmed something off the front and back of your clip, you're not going to be able to add a cross dissolve. So it is up to you whether you want to go through and add those in and make those a little bit of changes so that you can add the transition clips in there. It's something that you can, well, now that you know it, you can think about it while you're going through your edit. I usually just edit my clips more to the music and have them cut on the beat, so I don't use a ton of transitions, but I am going to go through real quick and add them in here so you can see what it looks like in a final product where everything has a transition. You can also shorten your cross dissolves by hovering over the end of it, and you will see that your mouse changes to that black bar with the 2 arrows sticking out on the side, and you can bring that in if you want the transition to happen faster, because sometimes you have a clip that is really short, but you still want to add that cross dissolve in, and by shortening that transition just a little bit, you'll be able to still see the clip that you want without it fading immediately into the next one. All right, I've got my transitions in, and now I think I'm finally ready to export my video. And to do that, you are going to go down to the bottom to the rocket ship. This is the deliver mode. It is going to deliver you your final product. So you're going to go to the screen. It's going to bring you a whole new screen. There are a lot of options here, but first you're going to want to name your video. So I'm going to call this Picnic in the Park. And then you are going to click the browse button and decide where you want to save it. You can save it to your desktop, you can save it to a specific folder, whatever you want to do. But I usually have a specific folder with all my clips in it already, and that's where I end up saving my clips. And now you can change a couple of these other settings. If you did end up recording your video in 4K, you're going to want to change the resolution to 3840 by 2160. And now that is going to have to add an HD layer to your timeline, but it should automatically do that for you. And as long as you record it in 24 frames per second, it will take care of that. And otherwise, you really shouldn't have to mess with too much of these other settings here. And then once you have named it, picked where you're going to set it, changed anything that you need to change, click Add to Render Queue. And that is going to tell you, oh, you need to add a higher resolution. And so you'll say, okay. And now it's going to put your project over here. And once you are ready to render it, you just click Render All. And it will go through, put all those clips together, and give you that final movie that you've been working so hard on. All right, and once your video is all rendered, you will see that up here in this render queue over here, that it will say completed and it will be green. And now you can go to the folder where you saved it, and you will find that final video. And this is where you can go ahead and watch your final clips. And I'm gonna go ahead and insert my final video in right here so that you can see my final video and how all of my edits came together and what your final products can look like if you use a software like DaVinci Resolve. All right, it is Tuesday afternoon and the weather is beautiful for August. So we decided that we would pack the girls up and go to a restaurant that's nearby and have a picnic dinner at the park.
Like the sweet flavor of it, it just like tastes good.
All right, so I think this is where I'm gonna wrap it up for today. I'm really sorry that this was such a long video, but this is a very complicated software and I very barely scratched the surface of all of the tools that are available to use here. So if you have any other questions, please feel free to leave a comment down below and I will do my best to answer them there. There are also a ton of other resources out there on DaVinci Resolve. I do not pretend to be any kind of crazy expert, but go out there, do some research, watch other videos, and get making those family home videos because you will never ever regret making them. So all that matters is that you press record and you put it into some final product where you can watch it with your family and share it with others. I do want to mention one other thing is that I went through and kind of made this little artsy. I had all of my different shots that I got. I was really setting the scene. I was making it a little bit more elaborate and artsy, and I don't want that to scare you and I don't want you to get too overwhelmed. If you have just a bunch of home video style clips where you're talking to the camera, like think 1990s, early 2000s, where you're just just recorded a couple minutes of things that are happening with you and your family, that's fine too. You can drop them all into the software. You don't have to make any cuts. You don't have to add in transitions. You don't even have to add in any music or titles. You can just drop all of your clips into the software and export it and have one final video that has a ton of home movies together. This is especially great for home movies of your kids. I know that like my childhood videos are just a bunch of random clips that my parents recorded, and I now have them all on a bunch of DVDs, and we have taken a lot of videos like that of our kids, but it doesn't have to be anything fancy like this. Please do not be overwhelmed by what I'm doing here, because this is kind of like the next step up. So if you're interested in that, you can follow these things, but do not be overwhelmed by all the options you have here. So I hope you learned something in today's video. Again, please drop any questions below. I will be happy to help in any way that I can. And if you found this video helpful and you're gonna go make your own home videos using DaVinci Resolve, please make sure you click that like button. And if you wanna follow along for ways to level up your camera gear, if you are ready to go from using your phone to a different style camera, our next video will be about different kinds of cameras that you can purchase that will step up your home video game, but also not take up all the memory on your phone or the camera battery on it. So just some things for you to consider if you want to come back for the next video. We also have a couple big trips coming up, so if you want to follow along for all of that craziness, please make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you can get notified when we post new videos. And we are so thankful to all of you for being here, and we will catch you in the next one.